Oh goodness! Well, listen, Evelyn Cormier, thank you so very much for making time for us this evening, and for hang on, I just want to bring up a graphic here for bringing your considerable posse, all of which is already asking questions for you in chat.
Well, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's completely my pleasure. So here you are in Claremont, New Hampshire, and take us back to the earliest days. Was it coffee houses? What were you playing?
So actually, I got my first job as a hostess at Ramonto's Brick Oven Pizza in Claremont. And I was 15, and before that, I was doing like just some church stuff and just local stuff in the area. But it wasn't until I was 15 that I got my first like paid hired gig at Ramonto's because I was working there, so they knew me. But yeah, they gave me a shot, and then several other little restaurants in the area. Shout out to Tavern on the Square. They would hire me out at 15, 16 years old, and yeah, just a blast.
All right, quick question. Do you remember your first pay gig? How much was it?
I think I. It's so hard to tell. I think it was either 50 to $100. It may not have been a full $100. It may have been just under $100 for like 3 hours. 3 hours of nonstop
Oh,
music.
how absolutely fantastic is that? So, where along the way, either you were astute enough to sort of follow the American Idol, or they contacted you. Walk us through how you go from a pizza place in Claremont, New Hampshire, to American Idol.
So that's something that people in my life have always said, hey, you know what? Maybe you should try out for like American Idol or The Voice or one of those shows. And I got to tell you something, just because I'm a performer and I'm a singer and this is what I do, it doesn't mean that I always feel the most confident or the most comfortable. I'm kind of a shy person for the most part. I'm very introverted. And so the idea of going on like American Idol and having to sing for these celebrity judges, and then the idea of going on this world stage basically and singing for everybody, it's just I'm having anxiety thinking about that right now. But so I always said, you know what? If American Idol comes to me and knocks on my door, then that's my sign from God that I'll follow that through and see how it goes. And everybody would always say, that's not how it works. And I said, then I guess I'm never doing American Idol. But I guess you won't imagine what happened is that I was sitting on my couch one day watching TV, and I get a direct message on Instagram from a casting director on American Idol asking me to do a private audition in New York City. And that's how it all started.
So, and I would be remiss if I didn't back up quickly. Prior to that, you were on 90 Day Fiance, and that's how a lot of people knew you. And back to the American Idol story. So you jump. Was it literally a bus to New York City?
I think the first time I either took the Amtrak or the bus because we've got an Amtrak right in Claremont. So I went a couple of different times, but one of them, one of those times, it was definitely on a bus. And yeah, I mean, I definitely felt a little bit like a fish out of water going into New York City. It was really my first time being there.
You went to and if I've done my research correctly, you went to the you performed, and then correct me if I'm wrong, you headed back. And I'm covering a lot of ground here pretty quickly, but you literally left the audition, went and you were about to board a bus home, and then what happened?
Yeah, no, I had just done my audition in front of the like executive producers. Like they don't throw you right out in front of the celebrity judges or anything. You kind of go through a process. So I had just done my interview and performance in front of the executives, and I was getting on my train headed home to Claremont, and then I got a call and they said, they want you on the show. You're going to audition in front of the celebrity judges.
That has to. What did that feel like?
it took my breath away, literally. Like the idea of, I used to, as a kid, I used to lay in bed at night and ponder what it might feel like to have to like be on the show like American Idol and like sing for those judges, and I would start feeling anxious, and then I just roll over and be like, that'll never happen. I'm just making up stupid ideas in my head. And then it became my reality. So it was just like, wow, I can't believe this is what's happening. But it was the idea is like, you know what? I'm just going to keep walking through these open doors. And that's as far as you can go, you know?
And you, I don't know, maybe grabbed a cab, you went back, and then the rest, of course, is on YouTube. Uh, so you stroll in, and now you're in front of the celebrity judges. What did that feel like? That had to be just an amazing moment.
It was absolutely surreal because it was me and my family. We went to New York City, and we had to wake up at like 4 a.m. So this was over a 20-hour day for us because we had to go there bright and early with all the other people that are selected or made it to like the celebrity judges. And you don't really know what time of day that you're going to be chosen to go audition for them. So I was like the last audition of the day. So I waited all day long. It was like nerve-wracking because you just don't know when they're going to call you in. And then when they finally do, it's like, oh, like this is the moment. And I remember just like my hands just shaking the whole time. I was so nervous.
You walked in and literally just a consummate pro. I don't know how you do it. I would have completely fallen apart. However, you walk in and you did Wicked Way. Why?
So ever since I heard that song, I can remember the first time I heard it, and I was picking up my brother from football practice when I was in high school, and I was just mesmerized by this song. And it's not always that something just catches your mind and your ear, and you're listening to the lyrics and the way the music is produced, and all of it is just so captivating. And so I went in and I did that song, and I'm so glad I did that one.
And you had absolutely no idea that later on in Idol you would be performing that song with, take it from here.
When I was doing the interview and the audition with the producers of the show, they give you like a paper and you fill out a bunch of questions. And one of the questions is if you, for whatever reason, happen to make it to the celebrity duet round, who are your top 3 picks? And my number 1 pick was Chris Isaak, Wicked Game.
Oh, good. And we're going to be playing that as we do almost every week. We'll be playing that. A couple quick questions from chat. Going a little out of sequence here. First question. What is on Evelyn's current music playlist that she enjoys? These are from your fans, by the way.
I hate to say it, but I've switched gears to Christmas. So I'm listening to like all the old Christmas music right now. I love the classics. And so that's just I'm driving him crazy with it.
Toby Ann Anderson, Indiana says, do you write your own music? I love the song Yard Sale Guitar and wondered if that was biographical.
So it is. And so actually I do write my own music. That's something that I just really love doing because I feel like, if you take away the other aspects of my music career, I'm still a writer. And that's just really deep inside me. It's part of my makeup. And I love being able to write my own music. And so sometimes I'll write with other writers or whatever. But at the end of the day, I love to have my hands in the writing process. And Yard Sale Guitar, I wrote that about myself, but also about several other independent artists at the time that I knew that were moving to Nashville or that were just grinding, doing the artist life, because it's not easy, but it does pay off in the sense where people are hearing this art that you're making. And that's really why you're doing it. You're not doing it for money because there's not a lot of money when you're an independent artist, I'll tell you that.
No, I know.
But you're doing it because you love it.
And you go from, and talk about brave, not only being in front of a national spot. And by the way, if you've lived under a rock and you do not know or have not seen the performance of Evelyn, Katy Perry, what did she call you again?
She says I have one of her favorite voices of all time.
That's absolutely amazing. So you now go. You're in front of a national spotlight. You're in New York City. At some period after that, you decide to move to Los Angeles. Was it L.A.?
Yeah, I lived in Los Angeles for a little while, and I think so. When I was on American Idol, we were shooting most of it in Los Angeles. So after the audition I had in New York, everything moved to California, and then we even did some filming in Hawaii, which was really crazy. But we ended up back in California, and when it was all said and done, it was very much recommended to me, even by Katy Perry, that I should move to Los Angeles and just kind of pursue my music there because it just doesn't make sense for me to stay in Claremont.
Claremont, New Hampshire to Hawaii. What? How does that happen? That's amazing. Go ahead.
I think I was the furthest traveling contestant. I was like the furthest up north and east, and I traveled over 12 hours by plane to get to Hawaii.
So your family was in a lot of your videos. Were they able to go to Hawaii as well?
They could have gone. A lot of that stuff in the early days, it kind of falls on your family to pay for their own tickets and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, right.
So my family didn't go to Hawaii, but we all said, like, okay, if you make it past Hawaii, we're flying out to California, and that's what they ended up doing.
At some point, and maybe even fairly recently, you've moved from Los Angeles to Nashville. I could probably guess why, but why don't you tell us?
Yeah, so during the pandemic, everything just sort of changed. I mean, I had a lot of stuff going on in my personal life. I ended up going through just a really difficult divorce, and I moved home with my family back in New Hampshire. A lot of music stuff just kind of came to a halt where I just wasn't really sure what was next for me. And so I had this woman reach out to me that I didn't, at the time, I hadn't met her. I didn't really know anything about her, and she didn't really know me. And she said, I feel God leading me to fund a Christian record for you. And I'm like, I'm a Christian, but I haven't really I wouldn't have considered myself like strictly a Christian artist. I wasn't making Christian music. I was just kind of making folk music. And I was at the time just praying for direction in my life. And I'm like, all right, I guess maybe this is the direction. And so I went to Georgia with my brother, and we wrote this Christian worship album. And then I didn't do anything with it for a while. I sat on it. And then I was back home in New Hampshire with my family, and I had a different music project that wasn't working out. The band split, and the manager of that band ended up taking me on as a solo client, and he knew about this album, and he said, what are you planning on doing with this? Do you want me to send it to my connections in Nashville? Are you open to like changing things up, moving to Nashville? And at the time, I was free of any sort of ties anywhere, and I just said, you know what, let's do it. I had interest from Christian labels in Nashville, and I'm just really glad I've been moving this direction, and I'm here in Nashville even right now.
So a couple days ago we spoke, and you mentioned that you may be able to give us some news after speaking to your agent about a new record deal. Is that something you're prepared to disclose?
I can at least tell you that I am expecting to sign a Christian record deal in the next couple months.
Fantastic.
That's what I can say.
Now, in the last, I don't know, maybe 90 days, at some point you woke up and you said, you know what? I have a book. I have a novel in me. And I think it's from your posts. You kind of hit some, maybe a period or two of writer block. But is the novel done? And if so, and I think it is, it's on Amazon. Is that correct?
So, yes. So actually, I have written 7 novels, and I haven't released them all because they're all in different stages of editing and all that. But the first novel that I've ever written, I wrote it when I was 18 years old, and I finally got it ready to rock, and I published it in February of this year, and it is on Amazon. It's called Where the River Meets the Ocean. And
it's about, I mean, I know, but please tell them.
Yeah, so I'm a New England girl at heart. Born and raised Claremont, New Hampshire, which is an old mill town. And I've just always been very fascinated by early American history and all this stuff about the textile mills in my hometown and what people were up to. And so I write historical fiction. And so my book is about a young girl whose family owns a lot of these textile mills in New England, and they're trying to get her married off before the end of the summer to somebody that is kind of everything that they would want for her. And then, of course, there has to be somebody that's thrown in the mix that's completely not anything she's expecting or anything her family wants. And so there's a love triangle. So if you love horses and love triangles and scandal and drama, it's definitely the book for you.
New music. What's on the horizon, or what are your some of your recent releases, new projects? Bring us up to speed on how people can reach out to you on your on social platforms.
Yeah. So I just released a song. It's called For Good, and that's on my Spotify and Apple. You can stream that wherever. And there will be new music. Like I said, there's some exciting things happening in the next couple of months. And then I'm assuming after all that gets finalized, the idea is to put out music. So the new music is coming, and you can definitely, follow me on Instagram. Reach out to me. I love hearing from you guys. I love being able to respond. I do post a lot of stuff just of my life, too. I love posting hamster content. I have a hamster son, and my husband and I are very busy doing fun stuff, so I like to keep everybody in the loop.
And on a personal level, correct me if I'm wrong, in the last, I'm going to take a shot here. In the last 2 hours, did you make homemade soup?
You know what? Soup is actually better 2 days after the soup has been made. So I made soup 2 days ago, but it was even better today.
All right, fantastic. Let me just check chat one more time for questions. Someone wants to know where you see yourself a year from now. It sounds like that sounds like an interview question, right? It's like I don't know.
It does. So one thing that my husband and I have really been talking about, because he's from New Hampshire and I'm from New Hampshire, and we both all of our families up that way. We love being that way. Honestly, the end goal for us is to be based out of New Hampshire. And I know a lot of new artists that are signed to labels in town that don't actually live here anymore. And I think that's because of the pandemic. There's a few good things that came out of that, and you don't necessarily have to live in town 100% of time. So I am hoping to be signed within the year, to be not living in Nashville, I'll be releasing a new book this spring, and just making new music, getting out there, playing some summer festivals, just the usual.
Someone else wants to know, final question, where do you get your inspiration for your new music?
Well, the thing is, I've spent a lot of my life writing folk music. And then a couple of years ago, when I made the transition into Christian music, there was so much turmoil going on in my personal life and a lot of healing that just had to happen, where I didn't want to throw out writing folk music completely. I wanted to be able to take the style of music that I really loved, and I wanted to bring it into the Christian scene. And so I've just really been diving into just unpacking my feelings and my thoughts and emotions. I pull from my own life, and I know that the things that I've experienced and the things that I've gone through in my young life, I'm 25, I know that it's not unique. I know there's many people out there that have gone through the same thing and more things, and that, they may not have gone through the same things that I have, but they've gone through something that they can relate to my music, and they can relate to these same feelings. And so I'm pulling from my own life.
You have lived so much life at the tender age of 25. Listen, I cannot thank you enough for joining the program. I'd love to have you back in about 6 months to check in. I wonder if you would be kind enough, since we have it all queued up, to introduce your For Good song.
Yeah. So what do you want me to? How do I do it? What do I say?
Oh, I don't know. You could tell us what you were thinking, what it was written about.
Yeah, no, I wrote that song about I honestly I feel like this is my most vulnerable song that I've ever written, and it is about just the feeling of coming out of divorce, the feeling of rebuilding and kind of rediscovering who you are and trusting in God, and it's just about how, you know, I pulled from this one verse in the Bible, and it talks about when Joseph was put into prison for 7 years after God had given him these dreams about what he was going to accomplish and what God was going to do in his life, and it just seemed impossible. And there's something in that story that says, what man meant for evil, God meant for good. And so that's the reason, and that's the sentiment behind my song, For Good.
I can never thank you enough for spending time with our audience this evening. I don't know how many years ago it was we spent a day together at in the Seacoast together, but I treasure that as well. I still have and often wear your T-shirt. Evelyn Cormier, boys and girls.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. This is Evelyn Cormier, For Good.
I got growing pains and I know why. Gonna take a forest fire to purify. I won't ever mourn what burned away. I got callous hands and I got scars. Thieves have come and gone and left their mark. Every wound is healing by your grace. They wanted to harm me, wanted to break me, but you meant it for good. You meant it for good. When I was hurting, I was just learning, but you meant it for good. You meant it for good. Now no height or depth can separate. There's no force or foe that won't obey. No one else can have the final say. I don't understand, but I can trust. I can't comprehend this kind of love.